Good evening, everyone. As Lauren said, I'm Tom, the founder of EquiKey. So if I was to hazard a guess, I'd say perhaps most, if not all of you in the room have heard of a reverse mortgage, but maybe only half would be able to tell me how one works. So what I thought we'd do tonight is tell you exactly what it is EquiKey does, how and why we're different to a reverse mortgage, and finally, why you should choose EquiKey over some of the other fractional property players out there. So first off the bat, what do we do? Put simply, we match senior homeowners that are asset rich but in need of cash with investors and would-be home buyers that have been priced out of the property market. The senior receives the capital to supplement their retirement income, and the investor receives their share of the future sale value of the home. So who are our senior homeowners? They're people like Evelyn. Evelyn has seen the value of her home rise by over 70% in the last 5 years alone. Yet she's relying solely on the age pension as a means of income. And this means she can struggle to afford things like strata fees, home renovations, and trips home to see family. But she does have some other options. She could downsize, but she likes where she lives, and this is the home that her kids grew up in. Not to mention, for anyone that's moved, you know the stress of doing so. She could take out a reverse mortgage. So this is a loan that is paid back at time of sale. But like any loan, it comes with compounding interest and ugly ongoing fees, which means Evelyn could owe more equity than she originally planned to give up. And finally, there's a little-known government scheme called the pension loan that works in the exact same way as a reverse mortgage, except instead of receiving a lump sum, you receive your pension topped up by up to 50% per week. So if Evelyn is on the median income pension, which is $400, she could receive an extra $200 per week. Not really a significant enough amount to afford some of those expenses that we spoke about earlier. So why EquiKey, and how are we different to a reverse mortgage? First and foremost, there is no debt. So our algorithm prices Evelyn's equity up front based on numerous factors, including her age, her health, the type of home she lives in, and its location. And because there's no debt, the equity that she sells is fixed. So if she was to release 10% equity, she would retain 90% of the sale proceeds when her house comes to sell, whether that's 2 or 20 years from now. And finally, because we're a peer-to-peer marketplace, Evelyn remains in control of which investor's bid she accepts, just as she would if she was selling 100% of her property. So you may be wondering how we make money. We charge a simple flat rate transaction fee of 5% split between the homeowner and the investor. That's probably no revelation if I tell you Australia's property market is one of the largest in the world. But there's an untapped niche in the senior equity release market worth $270 billion. And demand in that sector is only growing. So currently 1 in 7 Australians are over the age of 65, with this estimated to be 1 in 5 by the year 2048. So we've touched upon some of the options that Evelyn has, but what about our would-be home buyers and investors? On this side of the market, we have a competitive return on investment, but because we're not a managed investment scheme, we can afford to charge no management fees, and there's a true ownership option at the end of the investment. Through the Slingshot program, we've secured an agreement with LJ Hooker, which will allow us to complete our first transaction as early as January next year. Thank you. Our goal for 2019 is to complete 50 of these transactions or release the equivalent of $4 million worth of equity. As we look ahead to 2020 and beyond, we plan to leverage the underlying technology of the marketplace to allow not only investors to buy into seniors' homes, but also residential and commercial property developments. Our ultimate vision for EquiKey is to enable Australians to own their own home and achieve financial freedom in retirement. Thank you. So naturally, to deliver that Aussie dream, we have 3 expats. I have 5 years investment experience in this asset class in the UK, and I'm lucky enough to be advised by Katya, who's a senior research fellow in aging population at the UNSW, and Tim, who's an actuary by trade, but runs a financial modelling consultancy day to day. We'd love to have some Aussies join the team. In particular, we're looking for a chief technical officer to help us build out the marketplace, as well as a real estate and financial planning advisor to introduce us to those connections that we believe will be pivotal in moving forward. And finally, tonight, we'd like to invite you, the audience, to join us on the EquiKey journey as customers. So whether that means you have a self-managed super fund and are looking to diversify into property, or you're a would-be home buyer who thinks they can't afford to get on the property ladder, or even, as we've spoke about outside, some homeowners in the audience that are in need of cash. Please come and speak to me after the presentations, and I'll be happy to share more details about how we work and how you can unlock your equity through EquiKey. Thank you.